Hello and welcome to This Week in Laker Football. I'm Tyler Kieft alongside West Bloomfield varsity football coach Tyrice Grice, coming off a big win at home against Oxford, finishing off OAA Red Division play, and still really a three-team mix there in the OAA Red at the top. But still, that really speaks to the competition of this division this year. Speak to the overall play of your team in league and what that means for going forward as you finish off the regular season and look forward to playoff time.
Well, you want to play at this time clicking at all cylinders. So we were able to establish our run game last week against Oxford, and we were able to move the ball. You know, when you get into playoffs, you got to be able to run the ball. So that was one of our goals, and we was able to accomplish that. On defense, we was able to really play as a team, get better, pursuing to the ball, getting back to playoff-ready football. And that was our motive and objective, is to get ready to that playoff mindset throughout the week.
Any concerns about your offensive game being maybe a little bit too quick on the jump to get into the end zone and score? We saw that Oxford really didn't have a whole lot of issues staying on the field and sustaining the drives when they were successful on the offensive side, but West Bloomfield, to their benefit, able to march up the field and get into the end zone. As you play against a little bit more equal competition next couple weeks, Southfield A&T, and then going into playoff time, what does your team need to do to be able to sustain those drives, keep opposing defenses that are strong off the field, but also continue to play an effective offensive game?
Well, in order to be effective, you have to get positive yards on first downs. That's critical, whether it's 2 yards, 3 yards, which you don't want to be in third and long situations. And we was able last week not to put ourselves in that situation, so we had a lot of positive yards, especially in the first half. Again, the objective is to score, and we got to, as long as our defense stays strong, and it doesn't matter whether we score on one play or 20 or 15 play drives. The key is to score. So we can score quick, that's good. That's how we play. But we all know you got to establish the run game when you get into playoff football, and that's what we're trying to do this year. Defensively, we were able to pursue. We were able to do it. We got to do a better job tackling. That's one thing we saw last week that we got to do a better job at. So we're going to be working on tackling all throughout the week. But we just mentally trying to get ready for playoff football. We got a big game coming up, and we want to get this game out the way. We're able to do what we need to do and get ready for the next opponent.
And having these last couple weeks coming up, last really 3, 4, 5 weeks of the season being so competitive, it's a huge benefit to these Lakers as they get ready to finish off the regular season, and certainly as they go into playoff time. Still in the leadership positions on the offensive side of the ball, running a multi-quarterback system, it's really been working out well for this team and creating that versatility. What's been just as impressive is seeing those guys come up from down the depth chart, guys like Joshua Tate in particular in the backfield, but also guys like Trent Allison getting more reps and getting more touches. Jaden Allo's playing a key role also, and even Brandon Davis-Swain, who's been in as more of a blocking tight end, getting some touches on the offensive side of the ball this week. How important is it for you to be able to go down that depth chart going forward and move guys around and be able to put different sets out there, different targets out there, especially as you're going up against some of the best across the state?
Well, that's very, very important, especially when you're having injuries throughout the season. Those guys, that's backup guys, and the 2 deep has to be able to step in and do the job that we asked them to do. And they were able to do that last week. Josh Tate was able to carry some ball a few times. He's been getting better throughout the week, throughout the year. And then he had an opportunity to play a little bit more of that last week, and you're going to see more of him moving forward as we run the ball more. Trent Allison is one of our best blockers. He deserved some reps in terms of catching the ball, but he's one of our best blockers, and he's always is more than just catching the ball, and he understands that. So Trent is doing an excellent job stepping up in his blocking game and catching a few balls. And Brandon Davis-Swain was able to play some tight end for us. And when teams load the box and you think he's just a blocker, that opens up for him. So it created a mismatch, especially against Oxford. That big boy caught the ball and scored. But we try to do the three-headed monster. It's nothing new. We've done this in the past where we have running backs playing quarterback. But the good thing about these guys, all three of them can actually pass the ball. So if you think that one of those running backs is just solely in there to run the ball, then he can also pass. Jaws played quarterback in youth league. Brody, who's our second string quarterback. He can run. He's a pure run threat, catching the ball and throwing the ball. And then we got Samaj playing quarterback, who's the most versatile guy in the league, and he's able to do some special things and for us on offense. And although he may not catch the ball as a receiver, he can do damage in other areas.
Yeah, and you got to think, too, Rick Nance been out the last few weeks with an injury. He will, at some point this season, return to play for the Lakers. That offense only going to get more versatile and have more wrinkles to be thinking about for opposing coaches and opposing defenses going forward. Coach, let's talk about the defensive side of the ball. Excellent game as well, holding Oxford to just 3 points on Friday night, and a team that was still able to move the ball a little bit, get the run game going. But despite that being the case, despite them being able to have an overall quality game executing their offense, your defense did a great job of shutting down opportunities, and when Oxford was in a position to take some momentum, prevent them from taking that.
Well, Oxford had a few turnovers that hurted them, and we was able to recover. So that helped us defensively and get us in better field position. They was able to move the ball in they type of style of offense a few times, but we was bend, don't break type of style, but we made the key plays when it was 3rd and 2. They got a tackle for loss, forced them to punt. But that's credit that to our defensive staff and the adjustment we had to make to make sure that the guys get fitted in the gaps that they need to get fitted in. So it's all about being consistent in that area. But I really think I have one of the best coaching staffs in the state. We've been around for a while, so we know what adjustments to make instantly in the game. So it's not something that we'll do have to wait for at halftime, but we'll know. So we saw some things that Oxford was doing that we want to make sure that guys do what they're supposed to do, and those quick adjustments helped us out quite a bit.
It's interesting, too, because you don't often think, when you think about team chemistry, it's so much about those 11 guys that are on the field. But it helps, too, to have that chemistry in the coaching staff off the field, to be able to make those adjustments in game, communicate to your team in all 3 phases, and the game plan at this high of a level. Speak to that, Coach, and how that comes into play for this Lakers team, this Laker program, really the sustained success over all these years.
Well, we've been around for a number of years. I've been here 11 years, and most of the coaches have been around as long as I have. So there's a trust. I trust that my offensive coordinator, Ken Rye, is going to call the right plays, design the right plays, prepare them. So that's a side of the ball I don't really have to worry about. And on the defensive side of the ball, as position coaches, IB does an excellent job developing the D-line. And when you see the talent that's coming from our program, people got to understand that talent has to be cultivated and that talent has to be developed. And our staff does a great job of putting that together. So we've been around, and that's something that's the continuity of the staff is really the key to our success. And you see programs, when they lose their whole staff, they go down. So although Bellamy left us a couple years ago and went on to do better, greater and bigger things, the staff stayed in place, and we had to add some pieces as well. So we're looking forward to continue that relationship, moving forward with a good coaching staff and get ready for Southfield.
A big game coming up this week on the road. Southfield A&T used to be in the OAA Red, now pretty dominant in the OAA White Division this year, playing an excellent slate of football and looking to finish off their OAA division play this week with a strong game against one of the best in the OAA Red here in West Bloomfield. That game later, 7:40 p.m. on Friday. It'll be both on our network as well as with our friends at Bally Sports, and we thank them so much for their continued partnership throughout this high school season. Coach, anything else that you'd like to reflect on from the Oxford game before we take a break and talk about more coming up for the Lakers?
Not really. I just think this game was one of those games we really truly wanted to play as a team. We really pushed that in practice to play together, and I think we were able to accomplish that. And everybody got an opportunity to play. And that's one of the things I like about our program and our coaching staff is getting guys who normally wouldn't have gotten playing time. They had an opportunity to play, so that's a good thing.
Getting guys prepared for the rest of the season. A lot of football left to play for the Lakers in 2022. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk to one of the Lakers' assistant coaches and get some more insight into what goes into making this Laker team so strong in all 3 phases. And then we'll preview the upcoming game on Friday against Southfield A&T. You're watching and listening to This Week in Laker Football. 2 men in the backfield, a fullback and a running back. Going on that hard count. Snap from Kasisi. Hands that ball off. Fighting for that first down. Dives forward. He's not going to get it.
If your pet could tell you where you should shop for him or her, it'd be a place run by pet lovers. With hard-to-find food, toys, and gifts, with pet-friendly people and services, and great advice from people who really know pets, It'd be a place where his friends hang out, even that old guy, where there's a surprise around every corner. If your pets could tell you, they'd recommend Premier Pet Supply. But pets can't talk. Or can they? Premier Pet Supply, the place pets love.
Welcome back to This Week in Laker Football. I'm Tyler Kieft alongside West Bloomfield Lakers running back Joshua Tate. And we've seen you in the last couple of weeks getting those opportunities to play first string ball, to play down the depth chart and get a lot of touches. For you, having this opportunity, especially in competitive games, Clarkston, Lake Erie, and Oxford, to get those touches and get yourself prepared, what's that experience been like for you to come up and play some of this first string ball with some of the best players in the state?
Yeah, well, coming up as a varsity player, I knew it was going to be tough to get playing time. So, I just had to show what I could do with the opportunities that I was gave, that I got. So, it was kind of hard at first because, going up against first string defense as a scout guy, guys like Kari, MJ, that whole defense, we got all dogs. So, yeah, I think they prepared me.
Yeah, and elaborate on that. How did that play, going up against those guys, playing against hard-hitting guys that are stout defensively, excellent in the zone, great in man coverage too? For you as a young guy, knowing that you're going to be going up against some of the best players in the state on the defensive side of the ball, whenever you get a touch in this Lakers offense that loves to run the football.
Yep, well, going against them in practice, it's always tough. It's always competitive. Offense and defense always going at it. We just got a team of competitors. So, I was ready coming in from the summer and going in. I thought I was just ready. But once I got there, they kind of humbled me a little bit. So I think as time went on, they got me better. Yeah.
It's that old cliche about talent and hard work, and what really brings it all together is combining the two. Certainly talented at the running back position is Joshua Tate, but speak to the work that you put in off the field to get even better, to know the offense you're running in, but also know the defensive matchups you're going up against, and how that helps you take that next step. It has helped you take that next step to not only get these opportunities, but make the most of them and really play important football, important reps for this Lakers offense.
Well, in the offseason, I was working out with our strength and conditioning guy, John from Fix, Yep, so I was working out with him and my dad, mostly him though. So I feel like he prepared me, got me stronger, got me a lot faster, he got me explosive. And I think that helped me a lot on the field because I'm making the right cuts, making the right moves. And, everything just been going well since I got with him, so yeah.
In terms of playing the running back position in this offense at West Bloomfield High School against this kind of competition, speak to the leadership too of guys like Jaws and guys like Ralph Rogers and what they've brought to your game and allowed you to learn and get better at as you've gotten these opportunities alongside them.
Yep. Well, Jaws, he always made sure I got reps. He always made sure I was good. So he was always playing my mentor role. And, Ralph always making sure I know the plays, making sure I'm comfortable out there on the field, So I feel like with them, I got the right guidance. So, yeah.
Joined by West Bloomfield Lakers running back Joshua Tate. You've seen a lot of 32 on the field the last several weeks. Certainly going to see a lot more of 32 going forward as we head toward playoff time. For you, being an underclassman and learning from these guys and the upperclassmen, in some cases replacing them on the field earlier on in the season, now sharing those reps with them in this really dynamic offense in West Bloomfield, does that add a bit of pressure to you as an underclassman, as a guy that's new to this varsity team? And if so, how do you adjust to that? How do you work around that pressure to really hone in on playing great football as you have been doing?
Well, being an underclassman, it wasn't really anything that really bothered me because, I've been playing up almost my whole life. So, with my brothers, I got two brothers that they always been kind of bullying me around the house. So, yeah, I was always comfortable around older people. So I feel like that kind of helped me a lot. And me being an underclassman wasn't really a problem.
What do you have to do to take that next step? You're playing great football, but to be the next guy down the line in this great line of running backs here at West Bloomfield, continue to make a great impact on this team this year, but also be that running back of the future here for the Lakers.
I got to get better in all phases of the game, everything, me being even a better leader. Even off the field, me being stronger, yeah, that's cool, but me being faster, but I feel like it's all about leadership, you know, going in, like, after this class that's leaving after this, you know, it's me and Brody. That's it at the running back position. So I feel like me and him got to, like, step up and be leaders of the teams.
Yeah, it's great to see on the field when these younger guys get into game action, especially first-team game action. You really just see in action how these leaders that emerge on this team develop into those leadership positions. We've seen it so many times in the past, and it's great to see it once again with you, Joshua Tate, running back for West Bloomfield here on This Week in Laker Football. We love to do this with players that we're just introducing ourselves to, and even those that we know pretty well. Off the football field, what are some of your favorite things to do? What are some of your favorite hobbies and activities?
Well, you know, me, I'm pretty much a chill guy. I just like hanging around my friends, you know. We're a funny group. You know, I just like hanging around with my friends. So, yeah, that's it.
There you go. Gotta keep yourself motivated, keep yourself happy, and, you know, sometimes good to get away a little bit from the game of football, and that brings you right back every single time. Josh, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Joshua Tate, West Bloomfield Lakers running back. You'll see a lot more of him this Friday at Southfield A&T. Later game this week, 7:40 p.m. kickoff. Our coverage will begin about 7 p.m. on Civic Center TV. More information, civiccentertv.com/Lakersports. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll go on the defensive side of the ball. We'll talk to one of West Bloomfield's great assistant coaches, and then follow up with head coach Tyrice Grice and preview this week's game on the road. OAA crossover, the Red Division here with the Lakers heads over to the OAA White Division on the road at Southfield A&T. You're watching and listening to This Week in Laker Football.
So here come the Lakers. Only a yard to go, and they do sneak into the end zone. Touchdown, West Bloomfield.
And again, seeing those guys up the depth chart, down the depth chart. Joshua Tate coming in and getting that run for the L-Boyz.
So in spite of the penalty, Lakers do get in, and it's 6-0 here with about 10-11 to go here in the first quarter.
Wake up, Greater West Bloomfield. Start your mornings with The Splash and tune in for The Splash Live. Get acquainted with people, places, and activities that are live, local, and for you. First thing in the morning, weekdays at 9:30 a.m. on our Civic Center TV YouTube page, or watch us live at Civic Center TV or on Facebook. The Splash Live, Greater West Bloomfield's live update show.
Welcome back to This Week in Laker Football. I'm Tyler Kieft alongside West Bloomfield, the Lakers defensive backs coach Kason Dickerson. Kason, it's been a great season in the secondary for the Lakers, who've had quite the competition going up against some of the best quarterbacks in the entire state, and certainly right here in southeastern Michigan. What's been the key for your secondary this season, especially going up against some really tough competition to stay playing high-level football?
I would say the key is preparation. Knowing your assignment and doing your assignment. Then the next thing is to be technically sound. You know, be sound in your technique, be disciplined in your eyes, you know, move your feet, strike at the point of attack, at the line of scrimmage, and, you know, stay square, you know. And I think that we got some guys who put some great work in the offseason, you know, running track. So they're able to run up the field with anybody. You know, just be disciplined, make plays on the football, you know, and have that continuity in the back end. You know, communication is pivotal, knowing what type of route concepts you're going to get out of certain formations, and then ultimately film preparation plays a huge role in our secondary.
And it's great, too, to have the leadership that you have in the secondary, too. Veteran players, Jameer Benjamin, on the younger guys, but still a lot of varsity experience. There's certainly Samaj Morgan. Epps has been there for a while, and Lorenzo Wilden's been that role, too. How important is that to have those guys in these key positions now, especially as over the last few weeks we've seen a lot of younger guys coming up the depth chart and getting some first-team reps? Yeah,
those guys have built the cohesiveness here at West Bloomfield. They've been playing together for at least 2 years now in the secondary. They started off as younger guys getting reps in the secondary, but a lot of guys was up on varsity and they was able to emulate some of those guys who was there when we won the state championship, and see how those guys prepare, the Maxwell Harristons and those guys. And, you know, they really took it upon themselves to get better and better as a group. So I think they're playing really, really well. I like what Adrian Epps and Samaj Morgan is doing in the back end for our secondary, and alongside with Jameer, Bryce Rowe, and then also Lorenzo Williams. And then also Deontay Pippen, who's a two-way threat for us as well. You'll see him probably featured in some of the game coming up here.
Yeah, we've seen Deontay Pippen come back up and play in some of those key roles in the safety position, also as a cornerback over the last couple weeks, and make some really important plays for these Lakers against Lake Orion and Oxford. A couple of really tough weeks coming up against great quarterbacks, Isaiah Marshall this week at Southfield A&T, and then you're going up against another soon-to-be playoff team at Ike right here at West Bloomfield to finish off the regular season. How important is it for you guys to hone in these next couple weeks and really learn whatever they can playing against these high-level quarterbacks and excellent receiving cores, especially as we go into playoff time?
Well, I think we will have it no other way. You know, we're a competitive group, and that's how we like it. We call ourselves DBU, and we want to exemplify just that. So we want to rise up to the challenge. You know, I tell those guys, you know, you don't have to rise up to the competition. You seek to your level of training. And I think that our guys have been training. They've been skill developed all season long. You know, in the off season, a lot of our guys, they do 7-on-7 clubs. And so they playing, you know, 7-on-7 all around and playing man-to-man defense. And so they continuously getting reps and reps and reps at this. So the more reps you get, you know, the better you are, you know, as a secondary. And then it's carrying over to the football, and you can see it translating in the season. You know, when they put them humps on, those guys are able to run with anybody, cover anybody up the field, and they like to take on the challenge. You know, they play with a chip on their shoulder. I coach with a chip on my shoulder, bring energy and enthusiasm every day, and that's what we do. You know, so we accept the challenge that they're gonna bring on.
And top down, that energy certainly reflects in the Lakers secondary, and it's been showing this season. Very tough team to throw the football against and the move in the receiving core against these West Bloomfield Lakers. We're joined by defensive backs coach Kason Dickerson on This Week in Laker Football, and you mentioned some of those guys in the past, Maxwell Hairston, certainly Makari Page at the University of Michigan, another one of those guys that you look down the list of Laker defensive backs, and that's really what defines this program as DBU. What makes that difference for you and for the coaching staff and for these guys on the practice field and in the film room to make this such a great place to learn to play cornerback and safety and be a really effective secondary?
I would say, you know, it starts, with the preparation and also the skill development. Me, myself, personally, I coach year round. So I'm coaching all year round. So I'm coaching 7-on-7 clubs. I'm coaching against different teams. They running different concepts. And, you know, we just getting prepared. Also, our secondary coach, Coach Cam, he coached in the back end with me. He does an amazing job, too, of getting the analytics down and what they like to do and what they like to run out of certain formations. You know, you speak the history of West Bloomfield and the players that came far beyond my years, you know, and then, you know, some of the Makari Page and the Maxwell Harrisons that came along, and they just solidified it as DBU, you know what I mean? Make guys want to come here and make guys want to play for a great coach and make guys want to, you know, be better. You know, who's going to be the next Laker? Who's going to be the next, you know, ambassador of DBU at Laker Nation?
Couple more weeks left in the regular season, a couple of tough games coming up against Southfield A&T and then Ike as the home finale before playoff time. What needs to be done in your secondary to make those last-minute improvements and be ready for a tough playoff push?
Well, I wouldn't say it's all about the secondary, you know what I'm saying? I would say the front end take care of the back end. So we got some great pass rushers with Brandon Davis-Swain and Xavier, you know, and Kari Jackson and Montel. And so those guys take care of us, you know what I'm saying? We send some heat and you know, the front end to take care of the back end. So I think as much as we would like to take all the credit and the glory, it starts with the whole cohesiveness of the defense. So if our defensive line do what they need to do, it'll take care of us in the secondary.
Lakers been taking care of business at all levels of the defense these last few weeks. Tough team to score on, tough team to move the football against, and that includes the Lakers secondary. Coach Dickerson, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Kason Dickerson, West Bloomfield defensive backs coach on This Week in Laker Football. We'll take a break. We'll explore more about this Lakers team and get ready for this week on the road at Southfield A&T. Later game this week, but we'll still have it right here on Civic Center TV and on our website, civiccentertv.com/Lakersports. You're watching and listening to This Week in Laker Football. Man to the left, snap to Cassisi. He'll roll out of the pocket. Johnson trying to make a block. Cassisi throws it away. Has to get that ball out. Incomplete, out of bounds. Going to be fourth down for the Oxford Wildcats.
Plan a day out, enjoy an exquisite dinner, or soak in the atmosphere at Orchard Lake Mall in the heart of West Bloomfield. Between Maple and Orchard Lake Road, capture the moment at Frameable Faces. Wrap up your back-to-school shopping at Guys and Gals, or get presents for your pet at Premier Pet Supply, and so much more. Visit the Orchard Mall in West Bloomfield, and consider visiting November 26th for their Small Business Saturday. Orchard Mall in West Bloomfield.
Welcome back to This Week in Laker Football. I'm Tyler Kieft alongside West Bloomfield Lakers head coach Tyrice Grice. Big game coming up on Friday, heading back on the road. Final away game of the regular season, going up against a familiar foe in Southfield A&T, now in the OAA White Division. At the top of that division, the Lakers tied at the top in the OAA Red. This is a team that's been having vast improvements this season. It's one of those teams that's been there right on the cusp of a lot of success over the last few years, and now they're there playing great football. What's the difference this year between this Southfield A&T team and teams that they've had in the past that makes them so dangerous against some of the best in the state?
Well, they were playing them last year. They were very young. We were young as well, but they were very young. They returned 16 starters from last year's team. So now I think the big difference between last year and this year is maturity, experience, and the fact that the coaches back in their second year as a coaching staff, even though some of them have been there for years. I think that's the big difference, and they have an excellent year. The quarterback over there, Marshall, is having a phenomenal year. He's having a Player of the Year type season, and we're looking forward to the challenge that he's going to provide for us with our D-backs and our defense as well.
Yeah, really going to be an interesting dynamic there between the Lakers' excellent secondary, a secondary that's been stout over the last several weeks, and this wide receiver core and quarterback combination for the Warriors. Tashi Braceful, definitely the marquee guy there in the receiving core, and Isaiah Marshall, as you mentioned, at quarterback. What about this week in terms of preparation? Is your team focusing on knowing that they have that kind of game in the air, but also as a team that can run the ball really well?
Well, that's what people don't see. Is they see all the passing, the stats, and the highlights, but watching them on film, they run more than you expected. Yeah. So we're looking forward to seeing that challenge, and we just got to prepare for the passing game and the running game. And I think those two areas, that if we can beat those two areas and the kicking game, we can win this game convincingly. But it's a team that's very competitive. It's going to be it's a rivalry game for us. So they don't like us and we don't like them, but off the field we respect each other, and we look forward because we're friends. They know they players. They play together in youth league, so you see all that rivalry and going at each other, and hopefully we keep it clean, and we want to keep it clean and have fun, and at the end of the day, whatever the outcome is, let's just be fair and let's have a good time with it.
Yeah, these last couple weeks also really important to get your team ready for playoff time. Every week we mention the competition of the season and getting yourself ready for when it really is important week in and week out to win football games in playoff time. And every single week we go back to, we're taking it week by week. But as you get to the end of the season, you're playing these really competitive games. How important is it for your team to finish strong in these last couple weeks, not take the foot off the gas in any situation, and be ready to play high-level football 100% at 100% every single game, especially as we approach those playoff games?
Well, that's very critical. You want to go in with momentum. And as long as you go in momentum, clicking in all three cylinders, that playoff is going to be we'll be ready for the playoff, because our league is tough enough. So everybody we play in our league is a competitive game. You're not going to go in and say we're going to blow a team out every week. In OAA Red, it can go both ways. It can go either or. So we know we're going to be battle tested going into the playoff, but we want to be battle tested, prepared, healthy, which is more important than anything, and be ready for the playoff for that.
And you look at the balance in the competition across the state this year, too, and look, no better example than right here in the OAA Red Division. A couple of losses for Clarkston, a loss for West Bloomfield and Rochester Adams as well, and some competitive teams like Lake Orion and Oxford still very interesting in the mix, despite maybe not as favorable of a record as they would hope. And then you think about the playoff time, too, and those points, getting those points and trying to collect home field advantage. It's interesting. A few weeks back, I talked to Mick McCabe, longtime Detroit Free Press high school sports writer, particularly in football, and he mentioned that he doesn't really believe there is that much of a benefit to home field advantage in high school football. Do you agree or disagree with that? How important is that home environment to teams to give them just a little bit of an advantage, if any, in these competitive games?
It's always an advantage. It's just how you prepare throughout that day. When you're on the road, you have to, account for the time that you have to just getting on the bus and getting players together, getting all your equipment all put together and loaded on the bus, and that drive time, and it's just the mental aspect of it just changes. And then it's nothing like playing in front of your fans. When you play in front of your fans in your school base, you tend to play a little bit better in terms of individual performance. But I think home field advantage is always a key to throughout the playoff. You know, the first 3 games, you want to win get those home games, and it's nothing like playing in front of your fans.
You talk about this West Bloomfield team, you talk about talent, but now you're looking at this team too and seeing just how deep it is with the performances of guys in second and third strings that are now playing combination of first string and second string ball over the last couple weeks. Then you think about guys that may be coming back from injury soon. Lorenzo Williams has had some injury issues over the last several weeks. We saw Bryce Rowe come back last week. Not an injury situation, but still back in the lineup against Oxford. And then Rick Nance, the big one that is certainly getting the focus for the Lakers at quarterback. If you may, if there's a status update on Rick Nance, when do you expect him to be back into game action?
Well, we hopefully have him back by the first week of the playoffs. He can come back sooner than that, but we're just being safe and making sure that he's mentally ready and physically ready. So it's something that he's ready to come back, but we told him to just wait, follow doctor's orders, and in the first week of the playoff, he should be ready.
Having those guys return to full strength, getting those lineups back to 100% and still having that depth, what does that bring to your team as you get into playoff time and you're really trying to throw these teams that are always well prepared, definitely talented, and certainly winners off as you're playing them in these competitive games that are win or go home?
Oh, it's win or go home. You hit it right on the button. That's been our message to the players, and that's what playoff football mentality is all about, that you can't make mistakes. Those mistakes can haunt you, and those mistakes can put you back and out the playoff and send you home. Perfect example last year when we played Rochester Adams, we missed the extra point. How critical that was at the time. So every kick, every field goal, every block, every touchdown, they all have to mean something and account for something, because at the end of the day, those little things come back to haunt you.
Not quite playoff time yet, but definitely is feeling like a playoff environment every single week with these Lakers, especially the last 2 weeks. Southfield A&T on the road on Friday, a little later kickoff, 7:40 p.m. Our coverage begins about 7 o'clock. CivicCenterTV.com/Lakers Sports. Coach, thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Paul.
Appreciate it, Coach. That does it for this week in Laker football. Of course, again, you can tune in CivicCenterTV.com/Lakers Sports every week for this show, as well as all of our coverage of Laker football, including our pregame show and live coverage of the games on Friday nights. Big thank you to our sponsors as well, the Orchard Mall, of course, the Michigan Week Committee, Premier Pet Supply, Ken and Deb Macon as well, and of course the Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission for making this all possible. That's been this week in Laker football. We'll see you again very soon.